So for this part, we already have an active object in there that is our player one that we imported. And so what we're going to do now, we're going to add a couple of other active objects, and then we're going to apply an alterable value to one of them. So let's go ahead and go to insert, and let's insert a new object, active. Okay. And again, one of the things we should do right away is name this, and this is going to be our enemy. So I'm just going to call this enemy. And I'm going to insert one more object. And we're going to call this bullet. Oops. Right click. Nope. Edit. Rename. Okay. We're going to call this bullet. Now what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and edit these real quick. So I'm going to double click on the bullet, and this is just that generic placeholder. And if we go up here to our clear icon, I can just clear that out. And the default is 32 by 32 pixels, and we're not going to need it this big. It's just going to be a small bullet. So I'm going to go ahead and resize this to 10 by 10. Click apply. And I'm going to choose a color. Go yellow, and I'm going to use the fill bucket, and that is going to be our bullet that we are going to fire from our ship. It's a little bit hard to see, so I'm going to go ahead and change the background frame color. So if I just click on the frame, I get my options down here, and you'll see it says background color. Let me go ahead and make this black. It'll be a little bit easier to see. Okay, for our enemy, I'm going to go ahead and double click on our enemy, and I'm going to get rid of this generic blue diamond, so I'll clear that out. And I'm just going to make our enemy kind of an oval color, and I think I'll make him, I don't know, we'll make him orange. So we'll go ahead and this will be our enemy. I'm going to go ahead and fill that in. And I'll make it look like a ship of some sort. Okay. We have our kind of our generic enemy here. And once I've done that, I can actually make this a little bigger if I want to. It's better to do it when you create it, but if you just need to make a small adjustment, you can do that. So we have our enemy over here, and what we're going to do, we're going to click on our enemy, and we're going to use the alterable value to give the enemy health. So with the enemy selected, I'm going to go to our A to Z in our properties window. And where it says alterable value, I'm going to go ahead and click new. And it calls it alterable value A. So I'm going to change this, and I'm going to call this enemy HP. And I'm going to set the enemy's health to 10. And there we go. Now, a couple other things we are going to do. We are going to now create a condition where our ship can fire at the enemy. So we're going to go to our event editor. I'm going to do a new condition. I'm going to select the mouse and keyboard. And I'm going to do a keyboard. Upon pressing a key, and when it asks which key do you want to use, I'm going to hit the space bar. This is going to be our firing key. So upon pressing space bar, we're going to go to player one, our icon for player one. And we're going to go to launch an object. We're going to launch the bullet. Click OK. We'll make it go a little bit slower. We'll go to 75. And we're going to use the direction of player one. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And I'm going to test this out real quick. Looks a little awkward right now, and I'm going to show you why in a second here. Looks like he's firing from nowhere. So what we're going to do, we are going to go to our frame editor. we are going to double click on our player. And over here we have our hotspot and our action point, and we want to make some adjustments here. So for our action point, right now, oops, you can see that our action point is actually way over here. And so that's why it looks like it's firing from this point. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and move this, and you can manually move it like this and put it exactly where you want it to be firing from. But I think I have our ship backward. That's okay. And I also need to do it on the other side. So for this one, I would need to put it over here like so. And click OK. And let's go ahead and retest that, see if that looks a little better. Looks a little better. See if we can also adjust hotspot. I'm going to put this in the middle. I'm going to just use this icon right here. Okay, let's see what this looks like. And still, this might be as good as we're going to get from this unless we enlarge it. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to create another event. And we're going to do an event where when the bullet collides with another object, being the enemy, we are going to go to the enemy and we're going to reduce his health. So we're going to do that by going to Alterable Values, subtract from the enemy HP. And with this weapon, let's say if he gets hit by this bullet, he's going to lose 2 from health. We're going to click OK. Now we haven't really told it what to. Oh, the other thing we do want to do is we don't want that bullet to keep flying through. So when these two things collide, we want the bullet to destroy. So now what we want to do is we want to tell the program what to do when the health of the enemy reaches 0. So we go to new condition. We're going to go to our enemy, and we're going to do a alterable value, compare to one of the alterable values. So we want to compare to the enemy hit points. When the enemy HP equals 0, then we are going to destroy the enemy. Let's go ahead and test that out. See what happens here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. And so the enemy destroys. Now, one more thing I'm going to show you guys in the next part of the tutorial is how to use an every. And so what I want to do, I'm going to add one more active object. This is going to be the enemy bullets. We're going to go ahead and clear. And we will resize 10 by 10, apply. And we'll make the enemy bullet red. Go. And we'll rename that enemy bullet. And so we are going to go to our event editor, and we're going to do something called an every. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to new condition. I'm going to go to the stopwatch, which is the timer, and select every. And it's going to allow us to pick some kind of interval all the way from hours, minutes, seconds, and hundredths of a second. I'm going to set it to 2 seconds, so every 2 seconds. Every 2 seconds, I want the enemy to launch an object, which is the enemy bullet. Click OK. This is where I'm going to make things a little interesting. I am going to change the speed to 75. But instead of using the direction of the enemy, or I select the direction, I'm going to launch in the direction relative to another object in the game. And I want the enemy to actually try to be aiming at us, the player. So I'm going to say relative to player 1. And that marquee box right there is what the enemy is going to be aiming at when he actually fires. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Speed of the object, 75. Click OK. And I'm just going to go ahead and test this out. And we can see what happens here. So now this guy is firing at us. So we gotta get out of his way, otherwise we're gonna get hit, and then we destroy him, and then he no longer fires. So these are some things that you can implement into other games. I realize that you won't be perfect at it when you first try it, but I think by knowing these things exist, it will give you ideas on how you can apply them to games you're creating or modifying, and you can ask me more in-depth questions in order to help you put those things into your games. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks, guys.